All right, the Reds, it's Talking Reds. Friday's Talking Reds, and I've got Siobhan Biggane with me today. I'm going to talk about, amongst other things, the Burnley game tomorrow, 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock on the telly. 3 o'clock officially on the telly. That's all a bit mad. But before all that, we're going to talk about Jordan Henderson. There's a press conference shortly where we're expecting it to be confirmed that he is out for the rest of the season. That's what all the papers were saying this morning. That's what people who were supposedly in the know were saying. So that's what we're expecting, really. We're not expecting him to be playing in the remaining games of the season. It's also come at the time where it's actually 5 years since he was first made captain of Liverpool, succeeding Steven Gerrard, of course. So yeah, I just thought we'd do something on Jordan, to be honest, Siobhan. I mean, can you cast your mind back to 5 years ago when he got the captaincy and how you felt about it? I remember what we would do when we did a reaction show, and I remember we were pretty positive about it. But believe it or not, some of us, or all of us at some time or another, have taken lots of stick for saying, he's all right, Jordan, you know. It's like, no, we must have Zinedine Zidane in centre mid.
Yeah, I mean, if you think back 5 years, who else was it going to be? What was the alternative? He was filling literally Steven Gerrard's shoes. Who else was it going to be? We're in a wash with great options at the time. And listen, you could have brought Zinedine Zidane in and he still would have struggled to meet people's expectations at that time, because whoever came in was going to have to replace the Scouse, local lad, legend, dragged the club through how many crap years. Whoever came in was going to have to do that job, and he was doing it at a time when quality was on the way out the door. So he was always going to get shit. But I think there just must be so many people eating the words now. It only took 5 years, but they're eating the words now.
No, exactly. And I think, you go back to Jordan's career at Liverpool, and it's undoubtedly been tough for him at times. Obviously nearly sold to Fulham, or swapped for Clint Dempsey, as it was. Brendan Rodgers went and told him before the Hearts game that he didn't want him and that he could go. Jordan had a little cry, rang his dad and decided he wanted to carry on, and here he is now. Premier League champion, European champion, champion of the world.
Champion et al.
You know what I mean? It's turned out all right, hasn't it? I mean, on the idea that, there's a little bit of sadness, I guess, that, he won't play in the game now. It looks likely that Liverpool will be given the trophy. But you imagine, whatever condition he's in, he gets wheeled out or whatever, he's going to be the man who lifts that trophy. I just wondered what you thought. Do you think he should go, full John Terry and wear full kit and shinies, or suit, trackie?
No, I think, oh God, please, I hope people are going to put him in the John Terry category. No, they're not. He hasn't really got much choice in the matter, unfortunately. I think we've all had to just get used to things that we're not that fond of the last couple of months, and, take what we can get and enjoy it for what it is, which is, a fully deserving great man of a captain doing the thing that he's been desperate to do since he was, a teenager, a kid, and, when did he think he was going to be doing this? When he was told before the Hearts game, you can go to Fulham and we want Clint Dempsey instead of you, yeah, he's going to have to swallow his pride, put his kit on, get his shinies on, shine his boots, get out there and shuffle in the weirdest fashion in the world. He'll be completely clean. This is what I keep thinking. He won't even have any dirt on him, or any, his hair will be perfect. He will have just had a wash. It's just going to be bananas.
Do you not think maybe Trackie is a good in between? Because I remember Redknapp coming out on the pitch in a full suit. And, I'm being handed, I think it was the League Cup. Someone will probably correct me if I'm wrong. But, they wanted him to be on the pitch at the time. And, he was in a suit. And I remember that looking weird. There's no two, whatever way you do it, it looks a bit weird.
Do you know when you said that just then, I cast my mind to the end of the Match of the Day credits, and what, when we see that every single weekend, when we see him lifting it on that every single weekend, do we need 52 reminders that he was injured and that he didn't play? Will anyone be asked on reminder 10? No, just put him in the kit, it'll be fine. The people who are going to be asked about it, we're not asked about. So I'll take him. He could come out in anything. I was going to say something then, but I won't. He could come out in anything and I wouldn't be asked. He can just do it however he wants. But the kit will, it'll be the least weird of all the weird options. Maybe some sort of training kit diddle, something in between.
Yeah.
Maybe a dressing gown. A club dressing gown.
Smoking jacket. I mean,
yeah, season's jacket.
on the captaincy though, and on his Liverpool career, he has obviously grown into it. I mean, if you look back when he first signed, and there's varying reports whether it was 16 million or whether it was 20 million, but he comes in, he's 20 years old, he's got one England cap to his name. When he comes in, Steven Gerrard asked about him early on and says something like, "Oh yeah, well, you know, hopefully he can be the new Steven Gerrard." And you're like, "Oh my God!" And then you've heard what you just said there. It was impossible shoes to fill in terms of taking over the captaincy. That's why there was a lot of debate around it at the time, and seemingly a debate ever since. But one thing that has happened, I think, in the last 18 months to 2 years, with Liverpool being as successful as they've been, with Jordan being right at the centre of it, the people who never liked him or didn't rate him or didn't want him or all of the above, I think most of them now even grudgingly have accepted what he's brought to the role, what he's brought to Liverpool. And there was a press conference some time back where Jurgen Klopp was asked about it again. He's always asked about it. He's asked about Jordan Henderson's influence again. And he basically said, like, yeah, he's not the best player in the world, but if you can't see what he brings to this Liverpool side and to this club, then I can't help you. And he sort of left it at that, and it was like, that was perfect, really, because that's all you need to say on it, really, now, isn't it? I mean, it's 350 appearances plus for Liverpool. He's won all the honours that he's done. You've seen him Barcelona game, for instance, the greatest comeback ever known and all that, and he's on the floor at the end.
Writhing round.
Yeah, because he had his knee had ballooned up. He was playing through the pain in that game. And he's give absolutely everything for the Liverpool shirt, hasn't he?
Yeah, and like the way Klopp put it there, where he says, if you can't figure that out for yourself, I don't know what to do. That's perfect, because it requires the people who are on the fence about it to actually think about it and think for themselves. And it's undeniable. When you were saying then about him being, on the floor at the end of the Barcelona game and stuff, it just reminded me of, do you remember in the FA Cup final, Steven Gerrard pops up with that goal, and Andy Gray on the commentary says, if anyone ever doubts your contribution to your club, you've just proved them wrong. And that was one goal in one final. All right, he carried the team in that final, the Gerrard final, wasn't it? The fact that there are still people who've got a question mark against the man who has lost the European Cup final, came back and won it the following year, lost the league, came back and won it the following year. And make no mistake, God, I'm getting all Andy Gray, make no mistake, if anyone doubts his contribution to that club and that he wasn't basically responsible for all of that, then they're just feels like it. Like what else can he do apart from win everything? And win everything, he did have to grow into it. Even if you look back at him, like physically back then, he was like a bit of a, he was a kid. He was a child, but he was small, and he was like almost kind of like shy looking and all that. Like, physically, he's come on. As a man, he is just. You can tell he's a good man. You can tell he's like very much rooted in how we all feel about our city and our club, and and he turns it inside out. He turns it on all the time on the pitch. I don't know what more people want from him. And all you need to do to see the contribution he's given is watch games when he's not playing, or watch spells of games when he's not playing. The shite. He controls everything. He moves everything in the right pace. He directs everything. And that's exactly what a captain should do. And people who doubt his kind of kudos as captain, just like Klopp, I don't know what to tell them.
Well, he won't be there for tomorrow for the Burnley game. Do you think this is a time for, or is it maybe too much? I don't know. But Naby Keita plays well last game against Brighton. I'm among the people that was like, go ahead. This is the Naby Keita we wanted to see. This is the fella we thought we were signing. It gets a good hour, and there's different ways of interpreting that he comes off after the hour. You can say he's done in, or you could say he's keeping him ready for Burnley. I mean, what do you reckon? Do you reckon this could be the Naby show on Saturday at 3:00?
I think he probably took him off with a view to start him again. And I think that, Naby's kind of injury records and fitness records is well versed. No one needs telling about it. So doing the right thing to protect him when games are won, or they're about won, the league is won, is the right thing to do. I think it's. I wonder whether Burnley like to see themselves as quite not that it's a challenge for us, because it never has been. You only have to look at past games, but they see themselves as quite a aggressive, defensive, intimidating team. I wonder whether they would kind of target him in that scenario, but I think he's more than got the measure of them.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're there with Burnley now as well. In that we talked about this more in length on the weekend of the show. We'll also be talking, or some of the others will be talking about on the Team Talk show, which is reacting to Jurgen Klopp's press conference. If you want more of a preview of this game, but if you do look at the recent record, it's sort of, the monkey's off the back with that one, really. In that, we don't get bullied by sides really now. We put the Burnley thing to bed. We comfortably beat them away this season, although that seems like a long time ago now. But yeah, if you want more on that game, go and check out those shows. Download the app, available on all platforms, and yeah, you can hear more chat on those games. Another thing we've been working on, and just want to give a plug to now, is something called How the League Was Won, which guess what that's about. But the idea is we go back over the whole season through the eyes of the Anfield app, through our content, if you like. With a bit of narration around the edges. It seems to be going down well, this one. It took ages to put it all together. The lads who put the video together, Ash, Fuad, Sam and Jordan, all worked hard on this one, so well into the boys. It looks great. There's also an audio separate from this. There's an audio documentary out there as well in 3 parts, or 4 parts I think it is now, called Journey to Number 19, which Lizzie has been working really hard on as well. All of this stuff available on the Anfield app if you subscribe. But here is a clip from How the League Was Won.
A win over Wolves meant that Liverpool finished 2019 13 points clear at the top of the Premier League. Into 2020, victory over Sheffield United at Anfield meant the Reds had gone a full year undefeated in the Premier League. In the Cup, Curtis Jones toppled the Toffees with that brilliant curled goal into the top bin. And then back to the league, Roberto Firmino wins it for us at Spurs. Then it was bring on your Manchester United at Anfield.
Manchester United, the real Manchester United, ruined my childhood. They spoiled my life. Cantona in 96, the treble in 99, goal after goal, last minute winners, all them trophies, all that champagne football. When was it going to end? Then when I became an adult, Macheda in 2009, the misery after misery after misery. And I thought, when is it going to stop? When is it going to end? Well, today it ended. Today it ends. Today it ends.
Liverpool have done so much that to so many teams this season. It's just because it's Man United and you do your head in and you really want to get it over the line and you're thinking, oh, they're going to get a scabby equaliser late and that's really paining you. But contextually, even if they had, it would have been going back to Liverpool in the pump where Man U get a draw and we win the league. I mean, we were better than them. They put a shift in, didn't they? Yeah. Man United, fair play to them.
I don't think Liverpool start particularly well. The goal probably goes, I wouldn't say against them replay, but there's no sign of a goal coming really. It's a little bit sloppy in parts. But when they get the goal, Robbo, I thought we do take a real stranglehold of the game, and I think United struggled for 10-15 just to get out the half. It was just aimless balls.
I just want to talk about the Salah goal really. Like, not so much even the goal, the explosion afterwards. The crowd felt, it was just like a proper moment in Liverpool's quest for the Premier League title. It was brilliant and it was everything that you hoped, and there's a lot to be said for a goal that clinches a 3 points at the end.
And as much as it would have been great to absolutely smash them out of sight, there's nothing sweeter than a last second clincher, is there? Do you know what I mean?
And the way it
what a
came
great,
as well.
oh yeah, and it's in slow motion unfolding. As soon as it goes over the top, you think, I know where this is going.
After Mo's late goal against Manchester United, we sung it. We're going to win the league, because we all believed then that we were going to do just that. It was Wolves next after that, and it was one of the toughest tests of the season, but Liverpool, as ever, found a way.
Liverpool 2-1 against Wolverhampton 1.
Liverpool side, it was set for breaking all sorts of records, and that's just an unreal feeling, especially when for so many years we've seen Liverpool sides just be a bit too mentally frail. We're seeing this side now just cruising against teams week after week, and as Andy said before, even when teams drag you down to the level and things like this, Liverpool side can find a way to win.
It was mad. We weren't that good.
We looked shattered.
We weren't that good.
We looked shattered.
But this is a measure of how good this football side are. They win it at the death. They win it in a way where we're all stood here and we're thinking this isn't happening.
To be honest, I was happy to take the draw at one point. It was all kind of looking like, let's just get the point and you know, we move on, and you know, what a fucking idiot I am.
Okay, so there you go, a clip from how the league was won. If you want to watch the whole thing, download the Anfield Wraps app. Dead easy to do. Search for the Anfield app, find it, download it, you get some tokens. You don't have to subscribe straight away. You can use the tokens to watch some premium content, and maybe it's that, or maybe you pick something else. It's up to you. All right, so what we're going to talk about in the second half is Footy being a bit shit and still not getting decisions right. I really hate talking about VAR, Siobhan. It's dead boring. But I feel like when we've had a wrong VAR decision in every Thursday Premier League match, we kind of have to give it a bit of a nod. Do you know what I mean? So Fernandes penalty, wrong, should have been overturned. Ward-Prowse penalty, wrong, should have been overturned. Kane doesn't get a penalty, wrong, should have been given. And it's just like, Kennel, lads. It's like, you know, we could all see. I mean, I seen the Fernandes one in particular because I had it on. I wasn't paying loads of attention, I'll be honest. I was listening to the radio as well. But when I saw it, I was like, in what world is it a penalty? And then, of course, Solskjaer comes out with some absolute shite about why it was a penalty. And it's like, lad. And then, you know, they've just come out, held their hands up. No, they're all wrong. All of them are wrong. And it's like, I don't get why the ref... I just don't get the basic stuff around it. I don't get why the ref doesn't go and look at the screen. I don't get why they're tying themselves up in this clear and obvious shite. Like, just if it's a mistake and it's not a pen, just say down in his earphone, "You've got that wrong, lad. Let's overturn it." But they've all these like weird grey areas that they've left. They've ended up tying themselves up in knots.
I know. I remember a couple of weeks ago, I said to my fella, I went, God, I'd love to be arguing about VAR again, you know, just to have something to talk about. And then it's happened, and I'm like, I was completely wrong. Yeah, I mean, listen, the world was shouting at those 3 incidents. I only saw in real time the United one, and I was just like, how can we still be getting this so wrong? Because it wasn't just a little bit wrong, it was just so wrong. In fact, it was a foul the other way. He studs him, like, completely, like, it was awful. They've said that they don't want the ref going over to the screen because it slows down the game. Well, oh my God, let's just... Right, there's a litany of things that are slowing down the game at the moment, isn't there? And if there's one thing that will slow down the game for the good of the game, then just get over yourselves and do it. I think there's probably, like... You'd like to think not in such a professional outfit, but I think there's a lot of ego at the moment around this and around the yard and about these decisions, and this clear and obvious. It's like, oh, well, they're not going to overrule the ref for that. Well, why not? Like, this was brought in to help refs do their job because there is always human error and there will be always human error. And like, I think it was Roy Keane said on the commentary, I can see why he's given that penalty because in the moment you can see that it was, you know, it was a coming together and the lad on the attack goes over.
Yeah.
And you can see why he's given it, but the system was put in place for someone to go, nah, totally see why you did it. You're right, they are tying themselves up in this clear and obvious because it's like they're saying to the ref, you're blind and you're stupid because you gave that penalty or you didn't give that penalty. And it's ridiculous. I think that they need to do it. They need to completely like rebrand that terminology altogether because it's setting loose a load of conversations that are just based on absolute bullshit. Yeah. And, you know, it's making, and it's not often I feel sorry for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, but it's making him have to come out and think of something to say to defend it because I bet you he's watched that and gone, oh, for fuck's sake, like, what am I meant to defend this one? But, like, obviously a better man would be able to go, listen, it was probably, you know, I can see why it was given. It might be a bit of a questionable one, but they need an overhaul of that. I think it is probably the terminology that's the problem and this whole slowing down the game. Well, if you can bring in drinks breaks in like a winter climate and if you can, you know, take 5 minutes to look at a marginal offside, then, you know, take the time to look at this as well. It worked fine in the couple of games where we have seen it happen. Just do it. Why are we relying on one man looking at one screen when the man who's literally employed to manage the game is like, I don't know.
But you'd accept it as well, surely, wouldn't you, if it was right? Like, you know, if you're going, like, I hate it. I've got to be honest. I'm not behind it still. I really hated it when, back in the days when we could go the game, you know, every sort of big decision going to it and that waiting around and not knowing and having that sort of spontaneous joy of a goal sort of taken away a little bit while you're waiting, and then it's not as good when it does get announced. You know, everyone does a bit of a sort of ironic cheer, but it's not spontaneous. It's you know, and I don't like the way as well that it's sort of, it's at one level of the sport and it's not at another. So, you know, like if you go and watch, I don't know, League One football or something, then there is no VAR, and like, you know, loads of grey areas in cup competitions. Like some games have it and some games don't, and in a game where they don't, they'd be like, oh well, if we had VAR we might have gone through, and you know what I mean. It just feels like, you know, there's some way of getting it right now, and we shouldn't be talking about it this much. And as I say, I didn't want to talk about it, but when they fucked it up so spectacularly yesterday, you kind of got to mention it.
3 in one night and an admission of 3 in one night is it's almost like they want it to become a conversation again, because they could have just, obviously it's the better thing to do, but if they'd just not said it, we probably wouldn't have to, you know, it probably wouldn't be this big. Like, say they're still getting it wrong, they know they're getting it wrong, so why don't they do something about it? I'm not a fan either. I think that in time it could become a more sophisticated, you know, piece of technology, but as it is now, it's absolutely, there's always something, and it was brought in to remove the something, and it's just created more something to talk about that isn't about the game. You know, these decisions, they do change games and they do change atmospheres and they change the way players probably feel that same sense of kind of resistance and reluctance to really go for it, or to, you know, to celebrate and things, and it does do that. But I mean, to get 3 massive, the option to get it right is right there. And if you're gonna go through all this and there's an option to get it spot on right and get the person who matters to look at it, just do it. It doesn't matter. Like, you're slowing the game down in 5,000 other ways. Just do it. It doesn't matter. But it is crap.
Yeah, it is. I'm not normally one as well for, I keep saying I'm not normally one for X or Y, and I don't want to talk about Y or X, but I'm doing all that today. But we are where we are. I don't normally sort of get all aboard the banter bus. I'm not a man who sips from a can of banter. I'm not the Archbishop of Banterbury. I don't really like it.
Doris Rex.
I'm not really.
I'm
not really a banter clause. I'm not really into it all. I just think it's a bit. But you know, we tolerated. Well, we didn't tolerate it. It did our heads in for so long, being called like penalty pool and Liverpool and all this shite. And yet here we are last night. United get a really, really, really dodgy penalty. The manager comes out and says it is one. The world says it isn't one. And then, you know, even the refs themselves come out and say, no, it wasn't a pen, that we got that wrong. It's 13 penalties this season for Man United. No team has ever had more in a Premier League season. And United pen since the start of last season, 25 penalties. Now, to put that into some kind of perspective, and I know that these aren't like as good of a side, so I get that argument, but nevertheless, Burnley in 6 Premier League seasons have had 19 pens. Like, I'm not saying there's a conspiracy or anything like that, but I'm just saying, if you're going to throw around things like Liverpool and penalty pool and all that bollocks, then people are going to start saying Manchester United or whatever now, aren't they?
Come up with something more snappy than that, I've got to be honest. I hope you do a better job.
It was just off.
But I think the Liverpool and the penalty pool was my favourite. It doesn't even rhyme. It's not even alliteration. It's shit. Penalty pool. I think those shouts probably came from United fans, if I'm honest. That's probably where they originated. So they're never gonna, you know, they're never going to admit that it was any different. You see this argument of, oh yeah, but you know, that just means that we're getting in that position to, you know, the attacking position, and we're getting fouled more often. Well, if you're telling me that United are getting in more, you know, kinds of attacking positions and getting fouled more often than Liverpool and Man City and Leicester or whoever, they're not. Of course they're not. It's bollocks. Otherwise, you know, penalty pool would be a real thing. I mean, God, penalty pool, it's hilarious. But yeah. I don't like to say it's a conspiracy either, because I think you could come up with a conspiracy for every scenario, couldn't you? But there's probably a conspiracy. It's probably something.
I mean, I just want to file. I'm just filing it under just saying. You know what I mean? Like it's one of them.
I emoji.
Yeah, just a little, or the fella with the little eyeglass,
or the one, or the tea, the frog drinking the tea. None of my business, but you know.
Yeah, just saying. I mean, I'm just trying to find it dead quick. I'm trying to fill here, but I have actually seen what you're talking about. Here we go. Number of touches inside the opposition penalty area per penalty. Liverpool, 1,175 touches, 5 penalties, 235 touches in the area per penalty. Man City, 143.9 touches in the penalty area, opposition penalty area per penalty. Man United, 68 touches in the opposition penalty area per penalty. I mean,
just saying.
Penalty pool. Liverpool. Yeah, so just wanted to take the piss. That was all right.
The fact that someone has had to go and do that maths. It's that big a thing. And it is a thing. No point saying it's not. That someone's had to go, oh shit, I'm going to have to figure. Someone from Ops has had to go and go, fucking, it's like midnight on a Thursday and I've got to go and figure that out now. You're messing, aren't you? But yeah, it's...
Do you reckon we'll get a pen tomorrow?
I hope Burnley do to up their stats a little bit. No, I'm only messing. No. I think
reckon there'll be a blatant one and we won't get it.
Yeah, of course.
We'll be talking about VAR again.
And then someone will have to say, oh, you know, how many times does Mo Salah have to go down before? You know, what does he have to do to get a penalty? We've all said it, but, you know, you just have to stop saying it and just say to yourself, well, you know what? Like, just be made up that they're not relying on penalties, because how many of United's wins out of interest have been the penalty has been decisive. Now, I'm not saying it would have changed last night's game. It wouldn't have. They were much better than Villa, obviously. But how many games when they were shite earlier in the season that they probably didn't, you know, depends on those penalties.
Maybe you should ask that question on Twitter, Siobhan, and then you can say just saying.
I can't be arsed with Banter FC coming after me.
Right, well, it is Burnley tomorrow. The Reds will be trying to keep up their perfect record at Anfield. Another record, of course, that they are going for is trying to win every home game in the league in one season. Hasn't been done before, so Liverpool will be looking to set that record as well. Burnley standing in the way, 3 o'clock on the telly. And, of course, the Anfield app will be doing all the usual stuff afterwards. So the post-match pint, the post-match podcast, stuff on the website, stuff on the Facebook, theanfieldapp.com, Twitter, Instagram, you get the picture.
The socials.
The social. Nice one, Siobhan. That has been Talking Reds. Up the Reds.